Welcome to Papa Junk Shop. Yeah, I got my next project here. Let's see, this generator I bought a couple of years ago at a yard sale. And matter of fact, if you watched my economy tractor video, the yard sale where I bought the Onan diesel generator that was on a refrigeration truck body, this came from the same yard sale, only it was a year or so later. And the guy didn't know anything about it other than he thought it come out of an RV. So the price was right, so I wound up with it. And it was just a generator. There was no cart or anything. I made the cart for it just because these things just don't move. They're like they're attached to the earth. They're so heavy. So I made a cart for it, and I did get it running, and I made a muffler for it. But that's as far as I ever got. And I'm gonna go through it and try to get it straightened out. It's kind of cobbled. The cart I made from, of course, stuff I already had, except for the back tires. They're Harbor Freight $3.99 specials. I think the front ones are off a old Toro snowblower. But the cart I made just out of scrap stuff, and I used a garden tractor front end, which I find makes it real nice for making carts. You use the center pin, so you've got a little bit of flexibility as far as the cart being stiff. It'll kind of conform to the terrain a little bit, and you can steer it. You just mount the pivot point back here, and then put a little tongue out here for the tie rods. Just hook them together, swivel handle, and I make the handle so that I can hook it on the back of a garden tractor and tow it too, along with having the handle. So they work out pretty nice. And the muffler I made, it had what was left of two of those, I don't know, small engine mufflers, you know, they got the little holes around them. I had two of them on there, and somebody had already made these, welded a nipple onto a flange, so I made one sort of like the conventional Onans had, only I made it out of 4-inch casing. And then I think this is 1/4 inch here, and there's an inside pipe here which goes between the two walls, and then there's another pipe in the center, and of course they're perforated, so it should last forever. And then I just attached it with a couple of unions so I can take it on and off. And this is the vacuum flow model. And like I say, it did get it running, and it did make electric, so it just needs uncobbled. You can see this is, looks like there's been some mice in there, and they've eaten some of the insulation off, so I got some wires to replace, generally clean it up. And this switch doesn't work. I don't know if it's the switch itself that's bad, or some of the relays need cleaned, or the wiring screwed up, or what. And I think this was for the remote start. And now they got a red wire on the ground for the battery. So just need a lot of straightening up to do. So that's going to be this project. I'll keep you informed as I go along what I find. Okay, I mentioned how heavy these were, hard to move around. That's why I made the cart, and curiosity got the best of me, so I threw my scale on it, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. I think maybe 456 pounds. That's why you need a cart for them. Just thought you might like to see that. Get it back off of there. I think I'm going to pull the back cover off also and check in there and make sure there isn't any rodents' nests, and take a look at the brushes, make sure they're all good shape and everything. So we'll get into that next. Alright, let's take a look at what's in here. Well, I don't see any rodent intrusion, and there is no tag on this, so I don't know how many watts it is or what any information about it. I believe the tag was up here on the engine. You can still see where the rivets are, but the tag's missing. So back here it says 305 CCK written on this, so maybe that'll give me some idea what I have here. Brush-wise, the ones that are on the slip ring look good. They're nice and long yet. And let's see the DC ones. I'm gonna have to go get a flashlight for that. Hang on.
Call from 80571216669.
Okay. Oh yeah, they're really nice and long too. So, see if I can get you off the tripod here and get a closer look. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that. Maybe it's better without the flashlight. But I can pull on these wires. You can see they move freely, or at least that one does. I haven't checked them all. And the same with the ones back here. They move nicely. So, I think we're good in there. I'm just going to go ahead and check all the brushes and make sure they're all free and move nicely. And blow it out a little bit. And probably put that cover back on. So, see you in a bit. Okay, I did find one brush holder that was a little rusty and showed signs of not wanting to move in and out freely. So, I'm going to get this cleaned up and put it back in. This is just the spring that pushes on the brush, and the brush was up in this area here where it's kind of rusty, so I'm going to get that cleaned up, and then I think all the brushes will be in good shape. Okay, I got that brush spring clip thingamabobber all cleaned up, and it's right here. I can show you. This moves nice and freely now. And also I got thinking that maybe I should check this back bearing. So I popped the dust cover off, which a lot of people don't know you can do. And as you can see, it doesn't have much grease in it at all. So I'm going to repack that and put that cover back on. It's one of these. You can just pop them off if you're really careful and they'll snap right back in place. So we'll get some fresh grease in that while I got this off. Then I can blow her out. I got the bearing all repacked, cover back on, and I pulled the spark plugs out, and I got some Scotch-Brite, and I got a drill on the nut on the back of the through bolt that holds the armature in. I'm going to try spinning this thing and cleaning up these slip rings a little bit as long as I'm in here. So I don't know how this is going to work. We'll just give her a try and see. Well, they're not polishing up as nice as I'd like, so I think I'll try to find something a little more aggressive and try the same thing. Okay, there I got them shined up pretty good. I used a couple of little pieces of 400 grit sandpaper, and then I used the Scotch-Brite again, so I'm happy with that. They're cleaned up pretty good. So should be able to put the cover back on now. Okay, so next I guess we'll look into this electrical box here and see if I can figure out what's going on. It's pretty interesting the way people do things. They chopped the hole in here and put this outlet. And I'm not sure, apparently there was some information under there. And then they run a wire out through one of the screw holes that holds the cover on and put it under a screw here for ground. And there's a ground connection right there anyways, but it wouldn't even been necessary to do that. But this red wire goes in and is the ground for the outlet. So I think I'll pull that mess off of there. And this wire here is just one I had on there. I touched that on the battery to get it to roll over because this stuff didn't work. And what else we got here? Oh, I found a wire over here just hanging out in the middle of nowhere. And I got looking and I think that went over here to an electric choke. So I don't know whether that was bad or somebody just didn't know what was going on or what, but probably have to pull that apart and check that out too. So definitely got some things to look into. It's probably going to take some time, and I'm sure you guys aren't going to want to watch all that. So as I make some progress, I'll fill you in once in a while. Okay, so before I got started on this electrical box mess, I went in and did a little research on the computer, and I didn't really come up with a whole lot, being I don't really have a model number. But I did look up that 305 CCK. It looks like this is a 3,500 watt light plant, so I did find that much out. And I tried to find some information on this, like a schematic or something, but I found some, but they were awful hard to read. They just weren't clear. The writing and stuff on them was terrible. But it sounds like we've got the start-stop switch, and then this is a remote, more or less a copy of this same thing. And of course that's start relay, and I think this is a two-stage regulator, I guess you'd call it, for the battery charging. And I think this is a variable for the first stage of the charging. And I think this relay might be that when you push this, it activates this, and then once the generator starts, it holds it in to keep it running. And then when you push this stop over here, it opens up this relay, I think. I'm not absolutely sure, but that's what I'm thinking, so I'm gonna dig into her. Yeah, I think my thoughts were correct on these relays and stuff, and I stumbled onto, well, I pulled the switch out, checked it, and it was okay. I pulled this relay out and made sure the contacts and stuff were clean on it, mounted it back in, and then I did find this wire, which had a broken off ring terminal here, and somebody had it stuck underneath this screw here, and I thought, well, that don't seem right. The broken off part of the ring wasn't there, and I chased this back, and it looked like it went to the center part of the switch, and I got looking, and right here is a, well, actually, before I did that, I thought, well, I took this and I hooked it to the negative side of the battery, and I pushed the start button, and now it starts. So I got looking around where I could find this broken off, and I see this up here, right here, and sure enough, there it is. So I believe that this was supposed to go up there, and somebody had it down here. So I think I got everything squared away as far as starting and stopping. So I'm going to go ahead and get this fixed, and then I'll go ahead and see if the battery charging portion of it is working. So hang in there. Okay, I started her up and run her for a couple of minutes and watched the battery voltage, and it was creeping back up, so looks like the charging part of it works. So I don't think I'm going to mess with the inside of this box anymore. The couple wires that are chewed off, there's a couple places where there's insulation missing, but they're way out in the open by themselves. They're not ever going to hit on anything. I think I'm just going to leave them right alone. Sometimes not messing with stuff's better. Don't cause problems. Got that terminal on and that fastened down. Everything seems to be working as far as starting and stopping. So, and I also put the voltmeter on that wire that was hanging over here that I thought went up to the electric choke, and it had power on it too. So that's going to be my next move. I'm going to pop this off of here, and I'll take a look at see what's going on with this thing. Hopefully you guys can see. It's still a little bit warm right there by that exhaust. I never messed with one of these, so this is new territory for me. So there's just a heater in there and a bimetal spring. Yeah, that's what she looks like. So apparently, let's see, I don't know how much you guys can see. Okay, so apparently this little tab here with a slot in it hooks into one end of that spring, and that would close the choke, and then this heating element heats up this ceramic stuff and in turn heats that coil, and that coil goes the opposite direction and opens the choke back up as it warms up. So and the coil looks alright, so we'll do a continuity check on it, or I'll just take it over and put it on my 12 volt power supply and we'll see if it heats up. So I'll go do that and be right back. Hey, I brought you over here to the bench. We'll check this thing out. I got her cleaned up and I had to replace this bolt. I think maybe that's why they didn't have it hooked up. It was so short. It looked like it had been broken off. There's the old one. It's been broken off, so I replaced that. So we'll hook this on the ground. And this is the terminal where that wire goes. And in the background you can see the power supply. It's drawing 1.14 amps. And I can feel some heat. So I believe this is going to be okay. Just a matter of getting it set back up and figured out how that's going to mount on that choke. So yeah, she's getting warm. So looks like we got lucky with that. Ouch, it is warm. Alright, back over to the generator. Okay, I got that installed back on the carburetor, and I'm just, before I hook it up to the correct thing, I'm gonna just power it up here and see if we can see it moving. It's warm in here, so I don't have it choked all the way. It's like watching paint dry. Not sure how fast that's supposed to react. Oh yeah, it's opening up. Probably with a little bit of the engine will be vibrating. So it is opening. So that might take a little bit of tinkering with once get it someplace where it's cold, because it is warm in here. So, but it should function all right. So I'm going to go ahead and hook the wire up to it. Yeah, it's been 20 minutes or so, and the choke is closing back up like it's supposed to. So I think we're okay with that. So set that cover back on there, and I'm not going to have an outlet there where they had it, but that seemed like a good opportunity for a place for a couple of meters. So there's a volt and an ammeter, and there's a Hertz meter. Of course, if I'd hold the camera so you could see, but I think they're going to fit right in there. So they already drilled them 4 holes there, so I think I'll just take an aluminum plate, put on there, and punch the holes for them meters. That way I can cover up that ugly hole and have a place for the meters. And let's see, I don't know if you remember this fuel pump they had mounted there with one bolt sort of dangling. And it's strange why people do things like this. There's 2 bolt holes there and they line up nicely, so I don't get it. So got to get that mounted back there, and then I think I'm going to mount electric box right here with 4 plug-ins. So I think that's how I'm going to work my outlets. So we're making progress. I figured as long as I was checking this thing out, I better pull these tin covers off and make sure there isn't any debris and stuff in there and nests. And I did find, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but in this fan there's stuff that looks like grass clippings. Doesn't really look like a mouse nest or anything, just looks like a bunch of grass. So I guess I'll go ahead and pull this off and get her blown out and cleaned out. Well, here's what I found. Like I said before, it just looks like grass clippings, not a mouse nest or anything. The rest of it looks pretty decent. That's the only place I've seen any debris, so I'll get that cleaned up and back together. Okay, I got this baby all cleaned up. Kind of a pain cleaning up all them fins. But getting ready to clean up this part, and I noticed that it looks like an oil pressure port here, and then I noticed that there's a oil pressure switch here, but there's no wire to it, and I don't see any provision where there ever was, and the screw is still in it. I know you probably can't see it, kind of dark, but what I'm going to try to do is put a meter on it, and right now it's in the shorted position. So I'm going to hook a wire from here up to the shut-off side of the start-stop switch, the stop side of it, and I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to take a screwdriver or something and drop down in there and pretend like that switch went into the on position or shorted position, and if it shuts the thing off, then I think I have a low oil pressure shut off for it. So I'll put you on a tripod and we'll give that a whirl. Okay, I'm going to put a clip wire down here on this end of the switch. Run it up here to, let's see, the top side of this would be what's activated when you flip this switch down to shut it off. So I'm going to put that on there. Okay. Just put a little gas in her. Now as soon as I start cranking, the oil pressure should come up and open that switch and everything should start. And then, let's see, there's a place I've got a long screwdriver around here, I think. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so let's give her a try. Yep, she shut off. So I think I'm going to run a wire from there, and I'll chase these back down, and I'm sure there's a place where I can just tie in. So now we have a low oil pressure shut off for her. So some more cleaning and some wiring, and we'll be back. Okay, got that wire installed, runs right up through here. Snakes on the back with the rest of the wires, and wound up going on this terminal down here, which is actually part of the remote start stop, which is identical to this switch up here. And I got some cleaning done, and I didn't really plan on this, but all the paint fell off of these parts. It had that ugly dark green on it, and it just was irritating me. I wasn't going to do all this prettying up on this one, but I'm going to do these parts at least. And of course the paint color is always a problem for these. And I went to my paint supply and I found this gallon can here that had some dark green paint in it, about that color. And I found some aluminum paint, and I took the aluminum paint and I went, that's about right, and stirred it up, and this is what I wound up with. I think it's pretty close. It's a lot closer than what was on there. So I'm gonna spray those parts and we'll see how they turn out. Okay, you guys want to watch me throw some paint on this last piece? I already got the other ones painted. They're over there drying, and one's up there. So I'm not professional. I just throw it on there and hope for the best. Alright, I'm going to call that good before I get too much on there and start getting a run. That's how I throw paint at stuff. So I went to clean my gun and I used my usual paint thinner cleaner, and it didn't touch that paint. So I wound up having to use some lacquer thinner. Apparently that was lacquer paint. And I'm surprised that aluminum paint that I dumped in there was not lacquer. It was oil based. And I'm surprised it didn't turn into a big gob of a mess or else a wrinkle finish. But it's only been about 15 minutes and the stuff's already dry. Yeah, looks pretty good. But I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to let her sit a day or so. I got other stuff to do. And besides that, it's been a long day, so I think I'm going to give her up for today. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we got another day going here. I got thinking about this thing. There isn't any kind of a breaker for this thing, safety wise, on the AC coming out of it. And I'm just wondering if where they had that outlet here, if there might have been a breaker there and somebody eliminated it and put that outlet in there, carved that out. I don't know, because I haven't found any information on this because I don't know the whole model number. But anyways, I found a breaker box, and I got a 30 amp breaker mounted in it here. So that's what I'm gonna use for my safety. And I got a hole through the back here with a rubber grommet. I'll run the wires in there, and then I've got a handy box with the holes all drilled and everything that's gonna go there for 4 outlets. And I got a piece of seal tight that I'll go from the breaker box into here. And then I've been working on the panel. And I got a plate made and the holes punched out for the meters. And not real comfortable handling this paint yet, too roughly. But that's what I wound up there. I thought I better put some markings on it because in a year from now I won't remember what it is. The paint didn't come out too bad a match. Just a little bit different, but a lot closer than what was on there. So as soon as this stuff gets for sure dry, I'll get them meters mounted and wired up. We'll go from there with what's next. Okay, I got some more accomplished. I got the outlet box all mounted, and I got the meters and stuff all wired up, and I decided that I was going to put a there was a hole up here where there was a jeweled light, so I decided I'd put a momentary switch in there for a primer. And because don't always have a really good battery laying around. Sometimes I got one that I move around, sometimes it isn't the best, and if you're cranking this thing for an extended period of time trying to get the fuel up to the carburetor, you're going to run your battery down and you're not going to get her started. So I just chased this fuel pump wire back and then put a switch here so I can push that and it'll prime it. Once it gets gas, then you can go ahead and hit the start button. So that was my plan for that. So now it's a matter of getting the tin work back on it. And I think we're getting near the end of this project. Have to give her a try. Okay, got her all put back together and pulled her outside. Got the shrouding all back on, got the muffler back on. It's got some wet paint on it. It's high temperature Rust-Oleum. And I got the gas line running, a gas can, and I'm gonna try that primer button and see if I get any leaks. There she goes. Well, I don't see any leaks. So we'll fire her up and get that muffler warmed up and dry the paint out for a few minutes. Sounds like we got too much choke. Can you push that button up?
This one?
No.
Oh, that one.
No.
What one?
This. Pull
Oh,
up.
sorry.
And I have to adjust that choke. That's too much. Do it again. I'll just hold it open for a minute. Alright, it's awful light out here, so it's kind of hard to pull these motors. 129 volts, 61 hertz. So I'm going to let it run for a few minutes and get that muffler warmed up and that paint the rest of the way dried out, and then I'll put the load bank on it and see how she does. Okay, it's been running for about a half an hour. I got it plugged into the load bank. I got a 50-foot, I'm not sure if it's a number 12 or number 14 wire. And then it goes to a short piece of number 16 clip wire hooked onto the load bank. So my wiring isn't very good, but I can take you in and show you what it looks like. Okay, so we're running 127 volt, 63 cycles with a 4.5 amp load. So if I put there's 28.5 amp, 60 cycles. I let it run that way for quite a while. I just turned it back down to show you guys. But I've got 100 volts here. But if you look at the meter on the generator, it's 115. That's because of this long cord. We got some voltage drop with that load. So I think I got her set pretty close. I messed around with the governor and that vacuum governor thingy bob, which I know nothing about, and I'm going to try to look that up and figure out how to do it properly, but that's what I got so far. So I don't see any leaks. Everything seems to be good, running smooth. So I think I got another good generator to have around. So, until the next project, I'm going to call this good. And let me shut it off so you can hear me. Alright, that's quieter. So until I get my next project, we're going to call this one good. It's amazing. This is a 3500 watt, and I run it for about a half an hour with that almost 30 amp load on it, and the air coming out of the generator is still cool. Now if I could get my 4000 watt Champion generator to even make that much electric, it would be so hot you couldn't touch it. So the Onans are definitely made for the long haul. The only problem with them is that they do consume quite a bit of gas. So they're not efficient, but they're good. So I guess if you like this one, give me a thumbs up and please subscribe. See you next time.